So the video comes from here and go to the HDMI.
No, it's going through USB. Using the webcam that you did for Zoom. Zoom is then going to YouTube over there, and she's sound is important. It makes sense.
This is for the audio.
Yeah, audio that's getting the picture.
That's my son's video.
Can you guys hear me now? All right. Good morning. My name is Blair. I'm the executive director from West Palm Beach. I've met a lot of you face-to-face during the interview process, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to thank you for all you've contributed, not just for being today here, but for making this publication possible and for making it a great edition. We're very excited to host you here and to launch this 4th edition. Now, I just wanted to take a minute to make sure that everyone is in the room so that we can get started. I wanted to introduce you to our regional editor, Max Carlton Thomas, who will carry on and welcome everyone.
Capital Analytics is a unique multimedia platform that specializes in business intelligence on dynamic markets through our digital and print reports, high-impact conferences and events, as well as top-level digital content through our video platform, Invest Insights. We are unique in our approach in that over a 6-month research period, we interview over 200 local CEOs to put together the information that becomes the contents of each 200-page annual report. Our platform takes a deep dive into the most important economic sectors to promote the markets in which we operate to the national and global investor, entrepreneur, and business person. But it is not only the annual business guides we produce. Capital Analytics hosts high-impact leadership summits where executives convene to discuss the latest obstacles and how to best tackle them. Next, our subscribers stay up to date through our weekly newsletters. We cover hot topics and key issues relevant to the day-to-day business, keeping our subscribers to the annual reports continually up to date. We also put a voice and face to the words in our Invest Insights video series. Hear perspectives on the markets we cover and why they are advantageous from the people making it happen right now. And lastly, the Capital Analytics podcast, where our listeners take us on the go to stay informed of the latest business advice from those at the helm. At Capital Analytics, we know great words come from great minds, and so we bring you real insights.
Good morning, Palm Beach County. Awesome, that's a good one. Thank you very much, Blair, and good morning. Elected officials, moderators, panelists, and honored guests, welcome. I'm Max Crampton Thomas, Regional Editor for the Southern Markets of Capital Analytics. Welcome to this year's launch of Invest Palm Beach 2022-2023. We are extremely pleased to be able to present our latest edition for the market, featuring our annual analysis of the regional landscape with insights into the existing and emerging opportunities and also the challenges that lie ahead. Thank you all for being here today. Looking at the landscape, this is an exciting time for Palm Beach County. Despite the uncertainty that looms over both the national and regional economies in the near term, our research suggests that Palm Beach is ready to continue building on its recent growth towards a robust future. Attractive features, including a favorable tax landscape and, of course, a great climate and quality of life, have attracted new residents and businesses from across the country. Importantly, a focus on economic diversity has propelled the region's upward trajectory, from agriculture to financial services to life sciences and more. The county also ranks among the top 10 in Florida in numerous categories, including most diverse, best county to live in, best for families, and best for young professionals. According to many of the leaders we talked to in compiling our report, the key for Palm Beach moving forward, and also its challenge, will be to continue taking advantage of its strengths to ensure long-term and equitable prosperity. Other challenges, as we highlight in our report, include housing affordability and transportation limitations to meet the region's rapid growth, along with staffing hurdles that are challenging companies across the country. Rising inflation and this year's interest rate hikes are also concerns among those we talked to for this year's edition of Invest Palm Beach, with the prospect of a recession, or at the very least an economic downturn, on the horizon. These are issues with no easy fixes, but that nonetheless need to be addressed. To help us better understand the landscape, we put together what I believe is a stellar program of guest speakers. Mayor of the City of West Palm Beach, Keith James, and Vice President for Business Recruitment, Retention, and Expansion of the Business Development Board of Palm Beach County, Tim Dower, are our keynote speakers. And they'll help to set up what promises to be a robust discussion among our panelists. First, we'll look at education and healthcare sectors as twin pillars of the future of the economy in the region and the challenges that are arising in those areas. Next, transportation, real estate, and construction leaders will look at how these vital segments are responding to unprecedented growth and higher costs, and how that will help shape Palm Beach County's future. Rounding out our panel discussions, we'll look at strategic growth amid market downturns and what opportunity looks like in a changing environment. The changes include an uncertain economic landscape. Although we face a possible recession heading into 2023, or certainly a prolonged slowdown, our interviewees in Invest Palm Beach agree that a balanced strategy and adaptability will be necessary ingredients to see us through, particularly in the shorter term. This need for a balanced strategy and adaptability is true for both bigger and smaller businesses. I've experienced it myself here with Capital Analytics. Business intelligence is our bread and butter and will always be vital to our growth. We provide that through our printed publications, our digital resources, and of course conferences like these. Lost my place. But just as important as the intelligence we provide are the relationships we create and promote. Also through these conferences and through our video platform, Invest Insights, where we provide an avenue for regional leaders to speak directly to the community. In all our discussions with hundreds of businesses and political leaders over the past year, there is a marked emphasis on optimism. Today's leaders and our team at Capital Analytics are confident that tomorrow's landscape will be even stronger, brighter, and better, across all spectrums of sectors that make up Palm Beach County. We have quite a lineup for you today. However, before our discussions begin, I'd like to just take a quick moment and thank all our sponsors for today's event. Our gold sponsors, Charles E. Schmidt College of Medicine at FAU, Florida Blue, Kaufman Rawson, and Research Park at Florida Atlantic University. Our silver sponsors, Broward Palm Beaches and St. Lucie Realtors, CBiz, Cotton & Company, Florida Atlantic University College of Business, Greater Boca Raton Chamber of Commerce, Jones Foster, Oxbridge Academy, and Palm Train. Our bronze sponsors, Lake Worth CRA, Minto Communities, and the Florida SBDC at Florida Atlantic University. And finally, our honored sponsors, the Business Development Board of Palm Beach County, Charter Schools USA, City of West Palm Beach, the Bend Hotel, Potions in Motion, and more daily. We thank you all. It is with your support that we can continue to bring high-level speakers and content to Palm Beach County. I promise I'm going to get off here in a second. Some quick housekeeping items. The reports will be available at the conclusion of the event outside the conference room hall. Please take the first copy with you on your way out. You may have noticed on some of your tables, most of your tables actually, there's some table stands with some information on our social media channels. Please be sure to join the discussion by following our handles, tagging us, and adding the hashtag IPB23Summit. Also, and this is the more exciting part, you can register for complimentary access to our entire Invest library by using the QR code on that same table stand. As of today, the Invest Palm Beach report is available as well. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce our opening keynote speaker, Tim Doer, Vice President of Business Recruitment, Retention, and Expansion at the Business Development Board of Palm Beach County. If you could please give him a round of applause.
Good morning. If there's ever a definition of Photoshop, and Max pretty much took my whole speech, so thank you. No, it says keynote speaker, but I have 7 minutes. So just real quick, I want to thank Max and the whole team at Capital Analytics for allowing us to just open this presentation up today. You've got a great lineup of speakers and panelists, so I'm looking forward to that. Our partnership with Invest Palm Beach is very important. Just a little bit about me. I'm Tim Doer. I am the Vice President of Business Recruitment for the Business Development Board. The Business Development Board is the official economic development organization for Palm Beach County. Our goal is to recruit new businesses from outside the area and then to work with our existing companies here on expanding. How we are measured by the number of new jobs we bring in, high wage jobs. The average wage in Palm Beach County right now is the highest wage in all of Florida at $69,000 a year. That jumped this year. Normally it jumps 1 or 2% a year. This year it jumped up nearly 10%. And that's because of all of these financial firms that are coming down with average salaries of $450,000 plus. So, gone are the days where we're hiring 100 people at $50,000. We've got so many companies just moving in. We're also judged on capital investment and diversifying the economy. As I go on a little bit later and we talk about the pandemic, the diversity of the economy in Palm Beach County really set the bar high for us to come out of this pandemic. So with the state of Florida and Palm Beach County not really shutting down, the pandemic didn't really have an effect on what we do at the Business Development Board. How many people are born and raised in Palm Beach County? Nice. Oh, there's not that many of you. All right, this is going to show my age. How many of those people remember when I-95 stopped at PGA Boulevard? Oh, good. Look at that. That's even more. All right. So that means we're all old. I call that progress. A lot of people, I hesitate to say this because I used to work in Martin County, but I think that delay in that construction was because Martin County was trying to fight it. That's just my opinion, but I'll just say that there. In the last couple years, we've seen a very large growth from the Northeast. 41% of the population increase last year of 11,000 people. 41% of that came from New York, which is kind of crazy. We normally have our project comparison, we usually have 80% of expansions of existing companies and 20% relocations each year. This year we swapped. We did 20% expansions and about 80% new relocations to Palm Beach County. So it's just crazy the way the economy is working. Now fast forward to March of 2020, I walked out of my office with my laptop and I looked around and thought, well, am I going to be coming back to this office anytime soon? We were going to start to work from home. 360 Rosemary was under construction with very little space leased. Other new downtown Class A office space was being constructed, and our job is to fill it. So we were a little bit concerned, not knowing what this pandemic was going to cause, and then came Wall Street South. All of Wall Street moved down here. We started an initiative probably about 10 years ago called Behind the Gates. Basically, those folks that live over there, how many live over there? Not me. Okay, so the folks that live over there, a lot of them have homes, or a lot of them have businesses that are up in the Northeast, California, Illinois, Chicago, those areas. We started an initiative about 8 years ago to try to figure out, okay, who are these people and how can we get them to move a part of their business here? Well, the pandemic did that for us. So 8 years later, Goldman Sachs, Ken Griffin's The Citadel, New Day USA, hiring 600 people at 360 Rosemary, Sanders Capital, Virtue Financial. Those are just a few of the companies that we worked with on their moves. Some of them needed a lot of assistance, some didn't. The city of West Palm Beach was very helpful. The mayor's office, Rebecca and her team, it's a seamless process. So thanks to them. Once Wall Street came, then distribution came. March of 2020, not one Amazon distribution facility in all of Palm Beach County. Right now there's 7. The majority of them are last mile, which means they're about 80 to 90,000 square feet. And it's generally when you make a call and it's at your door the next day, it's coming from here in Palm Beach County now to the largest one in the Palm Beach Park of Commerce, which is 1 million square feet. So you can see that the pandemic did not slow us down. If anything, it increased our business. Just some other industries, like I had mentioned before, life science, manufacturing, aerospace, fintech, the marine industries, and right now I'm so happy to just see the tourism industry rebound. I'm sure Discover the Palm Beaches had their challenges 2 years ago, and right now I understand they're having a record year. So, I mean, with views like this and weather like we've got, I don't understand how people don't want to be here. Just real quickly, in the last 5 years, the Business Development Board has worked with 140 relocations and expansions, equating to about 13,000 direct jobs. These are only companies that we worked with. Obviously, over the last 5 years, thousands of companies have moved in, but these are the ones that we've touched with an average salary above ours at $80,000 per year and a capital investment of $1.5 billion. Last year, we had a record year for the BDB. We closed 33 projects, bless you, 2,500 new jobs, 1,700,000 square feet of new commercial or industrial space, and a capital investment of almost $500 million. Again, our top industries for recruitment last year were life science, distribution, manufacturing, financial services, aviation, aerospace, and engineering. And again, like I had mentioned before, most of these companies came from outside of Palm Beach County, which is good, new money coming in to diversify our economy. And just moving forward, I just will close because I think my 7 minutes are up, and we got a great panel. Our pipeline of projects moving forward, it slowed down just a little bit, probably 6 months ago, but just in the last 3 weeks, I handle a lot of the life science companies, so manufacturing, just equipment, life science equipment, and other just life science industries. We've seen a lot of growth in that in the last couple of weeks. Manufacturing, again, that's another one of our prime industries. distribution and logistics. So moving forward, right now, we've got about 60 projects that we're working on. And there's 4 of us doing that, and there's 14 on our whole team. So with that, I'd like to thank Max and his team. And I think that was the shortest keynote speech ever given. So maybe the mayor can beat me, I don't know. So thank you very much.
And one more round of applause for Tim. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce our first panel, moderated by our own Ryan Gandolfo, the regional editor for the North of Capital Analytics Associates. Twin Pillars, how the healthcare and education sectors can underpin the future economy of Palm Beach County and the challenges that are arising. Moderators and panelists, if you can please make your way to the stage. Let's give them a round of applause as they make their way.
Oh, sick.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry about that quick hiccup. My name is Ryan Gandolfo. I'm the regional editor for the Northern Markets at Capital Analytics, and it's great to see everyone turn out today. We've got beautiful weather. Can't ask for much more of a better view. Our first panel discussion will be called the Twin Pillars, and we'll be focusing on the healthcare and education sectors and the opportunities and challenges that presents the region going forward. I'd like to first introduce our panelists, starting with Marie Ben on my left. She is the Vice President of Network Development for Florida Blue. Up next, we have Daniel Grober, Dean of the College of Business at Florida Atlantic, followed by Dr. Ralph Marr, Head of School at Oxbridge Academy. And last but not least, we have Julie Belitzis, Dean of Charles E. Schmidt College of Medicine at FAU. So I'd like to kick off this panel by asking the first question, which is, while South Florida and Palm Beach County have long maintained an educational ecosystem that has allowed residents and employers alike the ability to study and recruit locally, with the unprecedented population growth that we've seen in the county, what do you think is the opportunity going forward just to further that growth? Marie, would you like to start, or?
Okay, so the question here is, with all this growth, we have tremendous opportunities here for everything from K through 12 education on up through the college and university level, and executive education that gets ongoing training for people who are established working professionals. There's also a great need for people in the trades and to support other blue-collar jobs here in this county and agricultural jobs in the West. To be in this sort of a growth economy is absolutely phenomenal. And at Florida Atlantic University, with our campuses stretching from Jupiter all the way down into Broward County, we focus on serving some of those markets. But our colleagues at the high school level and the K through 12 are really, really important, particularly for drawing people down here. That's one of the key things that people who are moving into the area want to see, is what are the schools that their kids are likely to go to. And that's an ideal topic. I think one of the great schools we have here is my colleague on my left, Dr. Marr.
Well, I'm glad you think we're important. So Yeah, it's a good question. I think absolutely sort of necessarily K through 12, has to serve the population, and we need to grow with the population. There have to be seats in classrooms for every child here, whether it's in the public schools or in the independent schools. It kind of doesn't matter. You just has to be capacity. So the potential is there, of course, and there also has to be quality education across that. The knowledge, skills, and abilities have to be taught. And we don't want to kind of grow it and just paste it outstrips our ability to do that. I think there's just an inherent tension that we all grapple with at the public and independent level. And this is what sort of I think is an inherent challenge. You didn't ask about challenge, but it's baked in there. Is that how do we tackle that growth at the same time that we build that capacity? And I'll just mention just sort of like for us, for instance, independent schools, and this is true actually with public universities too, is that, tuition doesn't fund our capacity building for that growth. As we grow, certainly more tuition dollars come in, but we fund a lot of our capacity building for that growth through philanthropy and through auxiliary programs to some extent, but mainly through philanthropy. There are, I don't know if you know this, but there are a lot of nonprofits in Palm Beach County. And so we're competing with all of them too. And it's a fairly sophisticated fundraising environment. It has been for decades and decades. And so all of that has to grow at the same time. And fortunately, a lot of what's coming down with Wall Street South is also bringing a lot of great philanthropists. And so we're seeing at our school a lot of new engagement in fundraising. But we have to do very creative things to engage those potential donors even more, because again, we have to, fund that capacity building, fund the financial aid that goes along with that. We give out about $5-6 million in financial aid a year. We have to build the capital projects to accommodate that growth. There's just a lot that goes into it. It doesn't just come from enrollment growth. So again, that's a tension we're talking about constantly.
Thank you. Julie, would you like to add something?
Thanks so much. I think across the nation, there are very few communities that people throughout the nation can name, and Palm Beach County is one of those. And in order to maintain what everybody thinks of when they think of Palm Beach County, it's essential for us to be able to recruit top-tier talent at the highest levels and maintain the standards that we all abide by that are in this room. So I think as we're thinking about growth, we have to be very intentional about the areas that we grow. As Dean of the medical school and Vice President of Health Affairs, I know I have a bias, but healthcare is 20% of the national GDP. And thinking about how we can grow enough people that touch the healthcare space, whether those are doctors or nurses or social workers, but also the life sectors, anybody that's in engineering or science revolving around that, startup companies, this is absolutely essential. So I think we have to be very strategic about where we make those investments and where those pathways are developed.
Thank you, Julie. And I would have to agree, 20%, that's a significant share of GDP, so all the more important going forward. My next question is for Marie. For many, particularly lower income households, health care associated costs often do come at a steep price. Nevertheless, and particularly after the experiences of the pandemic, we all understand the pivotal role for care. Having said that, what role do you see your organization at Florida Blue continuing to play in helping to keep costs more manageable?
Thank you. Well, healthcare was unaffordable prior to the pandemic. Post-pandemic inflation is even more so. It represents a significant portion of a family's income, whether it's through their cost share that they pay through their premium, the full premium through their employer, or what they pay out of pocket when they do access healthcare. And we can't forget about those that are either underinsured, have policies with large deductibles that financially they just cannot afford, or people who are uninsured. Our mission at Florida Blue is to help people and communities achieve better health. Our CEO is very focused on ensuring that our brand, our products are accessible to everyone in the community. We've done that certainly for the lower income segment of the community through the Affordable Care Act. We offer products through the ACA in all counties in the state of Florida and have since the beginning of the ACA. And we have made our products and our brand no longer aspirational, but attainable. So that is a huge focus for us. We do that through collaboration. We are a mission-driven insurance company. We're policy-owned, local. Corporate offices in Jacksonville, but we have offices throughout the state, including here in Palm Beach County. So we work with a lot of the local hospitals on ways that we can take some of the cost out of healthcare to ensure that we're putting products out in the marketplace that are affordable. There's still about, 175,000 people in the state of Florida who are eligible to buy insurance through the ACA and have all or some portion of their premium covered by the government. So we're also focused very heavily on education, outreach, and encouraging people to enroll. It's a social responsibility, but it's also steeped in education. People don't understand financing of healthcare, and our mission is to make sure that we're reaching all Floridians. We also offer products to our small business owners. Obviously, a huge portion of their cost is associated with healthcare. We want small group coverage. We really encourage that. We believe that's a differentiator in the types of employees that you can attract in this very competitive market. So we focus very heavily on the affordability of our product. It's not the cheapest products at all times, but when it comes to the quality of what we put out, the experience that we believe our members will have, especially those with chronic and critical illness. It's a little biased, but I don't think there's another insurer out there that will do what we do. So affordability is critical. We have to all work together to ensure that healthcare is accessible to all segments of the community with which we live.
Thank you, very well said, Marie. I would like to pass it over to Daniel and do a follow-up question just in regards of educating new students, new consumers on your products and on your services or your programs. Where do you see the challenge just in getting that information out there, facilitating it to the right people as well?
Well, for us, we serve a very large group of students. We have about 30,000 students across our campuses at Florida Atlantic University. And what we want to do is do the right things for the right students. It's about matching them up so they get the right education that helps prepare them for their careers. And in the College of Business, we're focused not only on the 18 and 19-year-olds, but on programs for working professionals. And that's where we've done some things that are exceptional in that area, or nationally and internationally ranked by the Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, U.S. News and World Report. That's been the history of FAU from its founding in 1961, is serving the working professionals. So we've grown with this area, and I'm really proud of what our executive team does. They're very agile. We adopt new programs. Some are degree programs, some are the training that you need to see. We've got, actually, I met a few alums here in the room, some of the tax companies that are hiring our people, and some of whom are very, very well established here. That said, we also have some great small privates here. Palm Beach Atlantic does a great job. As this community grows, we need that variety. And we need the research that's done by our colleagues in engineering and science and medicine. That helps grow. What's growing here in Palm Beach County is mainly in the knowledge space. So what we're doing in financial engineering, we brought down incredible faculty from Toronto, from New York, from Chicago. They want to be here. They want to educate them. So while industry is moving here, it's a wonderful time for us to recruit in the business school too. because we've been able to add some rock star faculty because they want to be part of the growth that they see here happening in this community.
Thank you, Daniel, I appreciate it. And if either Julie or Ralph would like to add, or we can move on to the next question. Great. All right, so the next question is more directed towards Ralph. It hasn't been just employees, as Daniel noted, who are moving to Palm Beach County and businesses, but also their families as well. And as the head of school for an institution, teaching and leading the next generation of entrepreneurs, business owners, and employees for Palm Beach County, what do you see as the critical investments or considerations underway that need to be made in order to keep these new individuals here locally instead of going elsewhere?
I think it's a really good question. It's a crucial question. And in any market that explodes like this, it's a question that arises when there's this sort of fear that when growth slows, what's going to happen? Will people leave? I lived in New Orleans right after Katrina when there was this entrepreneurial boom, and I was fairly active in it, even at an economic development level. And this would come up when there was this talk of the brain drain. What would happen? How do we keep people here? And one of the conclusions I really came to was that there were sort of three key elements or considerations for about people who can live anywhere. What are the elements that are going to keep them there? And I think the first two were fairly intuitive to really to anyone in this room. Is that one, people like to live places that are delightful, right? That are like this room, right? They're fun, they're interesting, have great restaurants, they have great public spaces, they have great community, sports, arts, all of these things that make for wonderful cities, right? You think of Paris, right? They also like to live places that are reliable, right? It's easy to do business. They have good schools, they have great healthcare, they have great efficient local government. They're places that people feel secure in living. And if you don't have the first, you're boring. If you don't have the second, you're unreliable. We know cities that sit on either one. But if we think about the great metro places, they have both. The cool thing about this area, is that it's grown both places very quickly and very fast. It's such a hot place for both reasons. The third one I think is a little counterintuitive, because I've noticed this about my friends who've stayed in New Orleans, is that people need to see wins. They need to see, and it's not so much themselves, is they need to see people that came in the same cohort. They need to see some wins among their peers. And it's fascinating is that it's, the corporate model, people bringing in down people like 600 employees is wonderful. You need that engine. That drives so much of the economy. But the wins largely come in the entrepreneurial space. And I have a friend who just sold a company for about $1.1 billion that he started 10 years ago. And he funded that largely through local angels who worked in, they were executives in big businesses in New Orleans. And that win has really validated all the work that went into that local economy. And it's really keeping a lot of our friends around there. And they're saying, hey, if he can do it, others can do it too. And it made sense for why I came here. It validated my experience there. So I think that's a big consideration. And so when you think about what goes into that in terms of creating visibility and about deals that are being done right now, giving entrepreneurs that, it's not access to capital so much, you can't force people to put money into businesses, but you can create visibility around that. You can encourage that kind of activity, you can make it easy to do it. Again, I think that's really important, and it helps everyone to make sure that there are wins that happen for this group of people that are coming in. Tech transfer is actually a big part of that, because some of these deals that I've seen have been medical devices and others in therapeutics that came out of the health sciences and that are now getting through FDA. So that's my take.
Yeah, thank you, Ralph. Julie, do you have anything to add?
No, I think he made so many great points, and I do love that, just getting those early wins and inspiring people and, working hard along that med device, med tech transfer to try to actualize that through the research park and Tech Runway.
Thank you. I would have to agree in saying that those wins do create a momentum that is pretty infectious for any community in a very positive way. That does lead me into my next question. Julie, we can start with you and work our way back. It's more geared towards the key challenge for Palm Beach and the South Florida region on what could impede that momentum that we're seeing in this region.
I think I was moved by Tim's first comments where he was talking about what the growth in this population was. And I was one of those that came down from New York over the last year, so one of that 41%. And, I think we need to make sure that our infrastructure is set up to take care of everybody that is coming. And to that end, one of the things that we have done, FAU has always been a part of this community, as you all know, and with all the alumni in the room. And you've seen over the last 10 years how that has elevated under President Kelly. And now when we look at the ways this is going to move forward under our new leadership, Brad Levine, who's our chair of the Board of Trustees, is here today in support of this. We want to lead the way in healthcare. We've formed FAU Health Network, which is a coalition of collaboration with everybody that touches this space, from government to BDB to hospital partners. We have Dan Listy from Tenon in the audience, and so many folks. And to be able to provide that healthcare to the people that are coming is essential. We need more doctors. We're ranked 41st out of 50 states in the country for access to healthcare. We need to do better. This is Florida, this is Palm Beach County, this is paradise, and we want to lead the way, not only by providing more doctors, but what's absolutely crucial is academic medicine. So Tim also alluded to all of Amazon's delivery warehouses that are coming here, which is awesome because you can get everything between 4 and 8 a.m. The little elves come to your house. But when Amazon talks about where they're going to have corporate headquarters, in the top 5 things they look for is there an academic medical center? And we need to fill that void for people that live in this area.
Thank you, Ralph.
Wasn't me.
I was going to carry on with the same question. I know you already have spoken to some challenges, but based off what Julia said, is there anything that comes to mind?
I got the intonation wrong. I'm sorry. Oh, you want me to carry on?
Yeah, if you could.
Oh, okay. I'm very sorry. Actually, I totally agree. And the academic medicine piece is just massive. I mean, I grew up in Gainesville, Florida, right, where Shands is. And you just see a small college town, but the presence of Shands makes a massive, massive difference to the quality of life of that city. Huge. And I think it's enabled the kind of growth that it's seen. It hasn't seen the kind of explosive growth that you've seen here, which is totally different factors. But it's enabled this sort of steady growth because there's this reliability people have. They don't question the healthcare whatsoever. Now they're lucky; they've got the flagship university right there. I think here, any investments we can possibly make in healthcare are crucial. I see that with my workforce, right? My workforce. I mean, we can depend on this kind of steady level. I think of GPs and other things, and certainly orthopedic surgeons and things for the specialist piece. I do see that often they have to go to other metros. They've got to get down to Miami. Sometimes they're going to Gainesville. Sometimes they're going up to Jacksonville. And that creates disruptions. I've got to find substitute teachers and things because I want to get them the time off to make sure that they can make that happen. And we're going to do that. And it's, we can build that. And that's just at kind of my local level. I understand it's a much bigger macro issue. But I can't agree more. You're the specialist, but I see that just at the level of me as an employer.
Thank you. Daniel?
Sure. There are a couple of infrastructure things that we really need to pay some attention to, and we see this every day. We drive up and down 95. The ongoing construction that hopefully one day, before I retire, will be finished. Yes, everybody's chuckling at that because that's just a long-time construction project. But the roads and the infrastructure are really important. The water, clean water, power, reliable power, all those things go along. But the other part of this is, as an economist, is something that we talked about a little bit briefly. It is that safety and security. If you don't feel safe in your homes, if you don't feel safe walking from your office to your car, or to the bus stop, or to Brightline, you've got to have that stability, that rule of law We've got to have the social services that support everyone in the community. We've got to build those things all at the same time, which is what's hard. And as cities are growing, to anticipate the growth and to fill out those infrastructure needs, the social and the physical is really key. And particularly for me as an economist, I look at excuse me for geeking out for a moment. There's this thing called the Economic Freedom of North America, an Economic Freedom Index. We actually measure the freedom of the states. And it looks at the legal system, property rights, how you can innovate and protect the innovation you've made, how you can grow in that space. We're doing that here, and the state is important, the federal government's important, local government's important. What I'm so pleased at is to see government and industry and education and healthcare all working together here in this area, because the businesses are moving here are people that can move anywhere. It's that knowledge economy. It is those people with high incomes. They drive a lot of other things as well. But we've got to be very careful not to let that competitive advantage slip. One last thing I'll say is there's a lesson from the experience of IBM in Boca Raton. Remember, IBM used to have a massive presence in Boca Raton. That's where they invented the PC. When the state government decided they were going to tax IBM on nationwide sales and do some other things, the IBM guys said, no, we're going, we're not kidding, we're really leaving. And for the most part, they did. So with these kind of businesses, you have to provide a tax climate, a safety climate, all those things we mentioned before, because the financial services, a lot of these innovative services can go somewhere else. Right now, we are out competing many other states, but we can't take that for granted.
Thank you. Marie?
No, I agree with everything that has been said. I would like to emphasize the fact that there is a huge burden on our healthcare system. It's huge. All of you know the burden of cost of healthcare for your businesses. Ensuring that we address disparities in health, ensuring that we produce great access to quality health is critical. The better job we do at bringing everyone up, getting people in the right insurance programs to get the medical care they need, it'll lessen the burden on our health systems. Our health systems are just stretched. Educating our physicians, our nurses, and other healthcare professionals is absolutely critical, but also the technical, the medical technologists, radiology techs. We just need to really focus on our healthcare system and ensuring that all Floridians, no matter their standing, economic standing, have that access, because the burden is really borne by many of the businesses in this room, because we have what we call cost shifting. So, again, Florida Blue, we focus very heavily on trying to put out solutions for health insurance for business owners, and we always remind people, and when we're in settings like this, that health disparities, generational poverty, all of that actually does contribute pretty significantly to our healthcare costs, and hospitals and health systems are focused on treating disease and illness versus addressing wellness and health. So just need to keep that in mind as well.
Thank you, I appreciate it, Marie. To wrap up this panel discussion, I do have one last question. You don't have to spend too much time on it, but I would like to ask, tying in healthcare and education, I'm curious to hear what you feel is being done or it needs to be done more from a collaboration perspective and working with different stakeholders.
Collaboration, but I'm going to pass it to the left.
She's exactly right. And I'll also say, to her point earlier, my mom was a nurse educator and a dean of a big community college that had all the 2-year health tech programs and everything else. She always reminded me, she said, Danny, healthcare is a business. We've got to be efficient, we've got to be effective, we've got to be accessible, and we've got to educate our people and provide that upward mobility. So I think you're exactly right. education that provides the tools people need for a better life, higher earnings, how to take care of themselves, and the healthcare system that supports them. And one thing we'll do is we take healthcare for granted, but we want to know that the emergency room is going to be open and staffed when we need it, because we never know when we're going to need it. We also need the other doctors and nurses and other professionals that help take care of us. Those are key services to help us move forward.
Just focus really quick on more of the K through 12 space, or pre-K through 12. Collaboration and coordination, and that actually has improved significantly through COVID, largely as a result of COVID. There was a lot more coordination that started to happen because of the need to collaborate around mitigation strategies. And so a lot of, at least in the independent school sector, a lot of heads of schools started talking frequently on these Zoom calls, and that's continued. But I would say that sort of system-wide across the public and private sector, trying to understand better who's serving whom, right? Because there's students everywhere, from the highly gifted to students with certain learning needs and special needs, and students with just interests in various particular areas that need to be served. And we don't want oversupply in different areas. And then there's areas where we have dramatic undersupply. And again, we need everyone served. So the more that we in our sector can talk and understand each other, not just as pure competitors, but as one whole system, I think the better. But I'm very heartened because that's happening more and more.
So, FAU has always been of the community for the community, and through FAU Health Network, we have partnered with a number of the local colleges and universities to try to figure out how many doctors, nurses, social workers, every member to the allied health professions that we need, and can create the right numbers of these. Well, we need help to do that. So, we're going to the legislature to ask for help expanding the College of Medicine, College of Nursing, College of Social Work. And this is really important to populate our hospitals of the future. As Ralph alluded to, a lot of people are leaving the market in order to get their health care. He said, there's a lot of downstream ramifications for this. When that happens, the jobs and the high level salaries that go along with that also leave. So there's some real economic ramifications and brain drain that can occur. So we need to keep it here, and we need to take care of those in our community.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all of you for some really thoughtful responses across all the topics that we covered during this panel discussion. So if you wouldn't mind giving a round of applause to our panelists. We're going to take a quick photo, and then we'll move on to the next one.
One more round of applause. Thank you again to our moderator and the panelists for such an insightful first panel. It's a true honor to be here witnessing such a great group of people come together to discuss the most relevant topics with the business community of Palm Beach County. As a reminder, please join the discussion on our social media today by following our handles and also on that handy table stand using the hashtag IPB23Summit. And with that, I am pleased to announce our upcoming panel, Building the Beach, How Palm Beach County's Real Estate and Construction Sectors Are Responding to Unprecedented Growth and Higher Costs to Shape the Region's Future. Please help me welcome our moderator, Valerie Nielsen, Executive Director for the Palm Beach Transportation Planning Agency, and her panelists.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Valerie Nielsen. I'm the Executive Director at the Palm Beach Transportation Planning Agency. We are the MPO for Palm Beach County. And I'm pleased to introduce our moderator, our panelists today, starting with David Searle, 2023 President-elect of the Broward, Palm Beaches, and St. Lucie Realtors and Beaches MLS. James C. Gavigan, Jr., shareholder at Jones Foster. Laurie Andrews, President of Cotton Company. And Clinton Forbes, our Executive Director of PalmTran. Please give our panelists a round of applause. So I have a list of questions here, but I'm going to start with the questions directed at each of the speakers first, and as we have time, I'll have more open questions for everyone. But we've really experienced a lot of change in the last couple of years, starting with the pandemic, and then now with this unprecedented growth that we're seeing, higher costs, and really our what we know of Palm Beach County changing. So to kick off the questions, I have a question here for David Searle. While homeowners are quick to enjoy the rising values of their homes, the same price appreciation might lead them to oppose further development due to the impression that development will reduce their home values. As someone who deals with end-to-end users day to day, how should policymakers look to balance necessary development while avoiding potential fallout and discontented homeowners?
Thank you. There you go. I think mindset, really changed in the pandemic. We had, lifestyle and experiences really became, to the forefront. And when you're looking at development, I think creative developments, like when you look at like Arden, out in Wellington area, they did a really good job. I remember I actually purchased my first home from Minto when they built Olympia. And when you look at the creative development that developers do, they have to serve the community. And I believe community itself is so important for that developer to embrace it. I'm also on the Palm Beach County Planning Commission, and we see, a lot of, the ones that get approved are the ones that are actually serving the community, adding value to the community. And I think when you look at policymakers, that's exactly what they want to see, and certainly the constituents as well.
Great, thank you. My next question is for James. While the overarching theme in the conversation around real estate, particularly as it relates to housing, is to just build more, there are a number of complications that can seem to get in the way. Specifically, what are some of the considerations policymakers should be looking at, particularly when it comes to exclusionary zoning, and how has zoning presented unintended hurdles toward further development?
Sure, and growth is difficult, especially in an area where you're limited by natural boundaries, the ocean and the Everglades. And in terms of development and zoning in particular, you have there's exclusionary zoning in particular. Exclusionary zoning is restricting zoning in a particular category. So, for instance, requirements on minimum lot size or no multifamily housing. And so, when you have more people moving into the area, and you have companies moving down and needing to bring their workforce with them, population growth, and where are you going to do that, and how's that going to happen? And so, what we need to do, and what policymakers need to consider, and get buy-in from the community and educate the community is, how can we make zoning more inclusive? And a lot of that is by amending zoning codes that have been in place for a number of years, reducing minimum lot size or having the zoning codes eliminate minimum lot sizes in certain situations, eliminating, allowing more multifamily housing, townhomes, duplex, triplex type of uses, And in general, just increasing density, urban infill development within communities, and expanding residential development in areas where, under the current zoning code, we only allow non-residential, such as shopping centers, office space, allowing more high-density residential in those areas, which would also allow people to live there in apartment buildings, scale walk places. And a lot of that comes down to just educating the public who have been there for a long time, are just resistant to change in general. So policymakers need to look at and ultimately adapt the zoning for population growth, but we need buy-in from the community, and to do that, you need to get out and educate the public who are resistant. I know my parents, even myself, was resistant to sometimes change, but change is reality. And in order for this, the more people come down here, it's good for Palm Beach. It's bringing money, it's bringing jobs, but we have to be flexible as a community as well.
Thank you. Lori, considering the high net worth individuals and institutional organizations that continue to relocate or expand to Palm Beach County, how are these new entrants to the market driving demand for higher quality homes and development, and how is this changing the nature of the market itself in terms of competitiveness and costs?
Well, we're fortunate that we're in the luxury segment. Probably across the country, we're in the bright spot right now because our market is less impacted when we're dealing with the luxury segment. They can afford more. When that luxury segment comes in, they bring those jobs and services that come along with them. So as we're developing for the future, we're finding that, we used to be all about retirees. Now we're getting the entrepreneurs here, the businesses, and we're expanding that 4-month season into a year-long lifestyle in Palm Beach County, which hasn't happened in the past. And along with that, the services that are coming with these new developments, it's very different based on that segment. So we have developers who are now planning spaces, not only about planning a property, but that property is really about a lifestyle. So we're looking at ways where we create a service aspect to every new property that's built related to how I'm gonna live within that. So in a tangible way, condos are looking at how am I building for arrival of packages at 4 in the morning, or refrigeration of groceries if they're delivered to my home while I'm not quite there yet, or meal, warming things. How am I taking advantage of technology? One thing we haven't talked about a lot today is technology. How am I taking advantage of technology to create that security and peace of mind that I need to have so my family feels safe? So developers are finding ways to deliver services and create environments and lifestyle, but also having a sensitivity to what that costs after I move into the home. Because I can want everything in the world with a luxury lifestyle, but I need to pay for it. And when we had the last downturn, the sensitivity to what the cost of carry was pretty high. A lot of the country clubs felt it in this community. Now, after the pandemic, everybody's really taking a second to look at what my lifestyle is. The golf clubs are booming, right? There's not enough golf in Palm Beach County. We're finally getting new golf courses being built again, which is a wonderful thing. Everyone has a backlist. But developers are really having to look at how they create that lifestyle and not just the real estate space.
Thank you. All right, Clinton, as someone who's worked in a variety of different cities across the US, how have you seen the relationship between effective public transportation and density evolve? And where do you see some of the key opportunities for Palm Beach County to leverage both to make the region more affordable and accessible to all of its residents?
Yes, thank you, Valerie. Good morning. Valerie, you can probably answer this question better than I can as the leader at the Transportation Planning Agency. I really see transportation trending towards multi-quarter transit-oriented development. Density loves transit, transit loves density. That's what makes transit work. Transit is usable if it's reliable, if it's frequent, if it's efficient. And so I think, multi-quarter, transit-oriented development is important for the development of effective mass transit. When we look at, what's going on in Palm Beach County, not too far from here, with the Transit Village project, which is a P3, public-private partnership, a over $1 billion project in West Palm Beach at the intermodal, where you will have a mixed use, urban offerings of office, retail, luxury to workforce housing. Right there in the center where Palm-Tran buses, Tri-Rail, Uber, Lyft, the downtown trolley circuit, all converge. And Brightline is a hard rock's throw, from that area. So those type of projects make sense because people like to live close to where they work. And to have that mobility option, I think is critically important. Now, the problem is the affordable housing aspect of that, right? I mean, so you've heard of this term, kind of drive until you qualify, right? So it's like, can I live on Palm Beach Island? No, you got to drive a little more. How about in the urban core of downtown West Palm? Keep driving. How about just outside the urban core? Keep driving. Drive until you qualify. How about suburbia? No. Keep driving. How about where this undeveloped land is? Maybe something in the future. You might qualify in a couple of years somewhere out there. So the point is that we have to make the housing into the center core in the urban area more affordable, and that for folks to live. Housing expense is the second largest living expense, second to housing. We talked about, I think Tim mentioned the influx of folks moving to Paradise here in Palm Beach County. That's not going to stop. I've read that the population in South Florida has increased by 10.3% in the last 10 years, which is outpacing the national average at 7.4%. There are more and more Florida birth certificates, New York birth certificates in Florida, right? I mean, like every other person I meet that moves here is a New Yorker, which, is nice. I love those thick New York accents, and striking up conversation. But every time I strike up conversation, I'm like, why? Why did you move here? And they're like, why wouldn't you move where you vacation for the last 20 years? I should have done this years ago. And so I think that bodes well for us because they understand what an effective and efficient public transportation system is. So I really think that, look, you guys know money, right? Would you pay attention in your portfolio to $170 million expense in your portfolio? Yeah, you'll pay attention to that. That's the annual cost of operating my system. And so, yes, we should pay attention and ensure that that system is effective, efficient, and serving the community. And it is. Now, that system is probably not for you, and it's probably not for me. It's like, wait, maybe how could you say that? You're the leader of that organization. Because you have, varied schedules that you have to go to meeting, so that transit system probably won't work for you now, but it is working for over 10 million people a year. That's how many trips that's happening in our system. So investment in mobility, investment in transit is going to be critical with the growth of this area.
Thank you, Clinton. Thank you, all of you, for answers to those questions. A few of you hit on topics of affordable housing and transportation and that connection of, and the opportunity to do infill development and more housing closer to the urban core, changing some of the zoning, having more mixed-use development closer to the urban core, and understanding the environmental constraints that we have here in Palm Beach County, both with the Atlantic Ocean, grassy waters, the Everglades, and how we continue to accommodate people versus sprawling, putting affordable housing farther away, which kind of negates the affordability because now you have to have a car, 2 cars in your household to be able to get anywhere. Can you guys talk to that and kind of also, we just passed a housing bond, you know, what role do you think that's going to play in all of this, and how do we really truly continue to provide affordable housing and accessible housing? I don't know if you want to share some thoughts.
So yeah, I mean, the housing bond was passed, and then it really incentivizes developers. And to James's point, I think he talked about shopping centers and things of that nature. Maybe there were shopping centers that became defunct or vacated lands and such, and it incentivizes developers to do workforce or affordable housing in the essential worker sector, and we need more of that. I do like that the drive to qualify. I mean, it is a shame we need to have a lot more affordable housing near the urban, near where transit is, so that people can afford the lifestyle that we're all accustomed to. I think that it's not an overnight or instant gratification. I think that we have to have collaboration within the transportation sectors and such. But I think that we're improving. And, over the last few years, you've seen it where policymakers have done things like the housing bond. And I think it's a great start. And hopefully a lot of the SHIP programs and the down payment assistance programs people will take advantage of, and we need to educate better. A lot of these people don't know that they can actually submit applications to the city of West Palm Beach or Palm Beach County or other municipalities in our area for down payment assistance. And I think the top income is like $126,000 in order to get down payment assistance. So a lot of people in our area, I think the average I think I heard the average was $69,000, for wages in Palm Beach County. A household up to $126,000 could still actually apply for down payment assistance. So I think it's education, it's collaboration within the transportation and collaboration within the developers as well.
And going from the bond referendum and workforce affordable housing, it's obviously a start, and it's critical. You see, have companies moving down here who not only bring their C-suite, but also bring all their employees, and you want to go to restaurants, and you want to have healthcare, and you want to have hospitals. Those people that are in the service industry, they need to be able to live here. If they're living in Port St. Lucie, and you start to get more jobs, and they have an opportunity to either work somewhere closer to their home as opposed to driving all the way to Palm Beach County to work because they can't afford to live here. You're not going to get servers, you're not going to get people to help you if you go to hospital. So it's critical for the economy to have a workforce that works here. And also, you see a lot of this workforce housing specifically, but also affordable, in the urban centers and urban core. The developers that are developing this and are getting credits and be able to use the bond proceeds, there's a certain portion of the units in those buildings go to workforce housing, but it's not a building just for workforce housing. They're spread out. There's certain units within the actual buildings that are on several floors that rotate. So they have the same amenities. So for people that live next to these buildings or around these buildings in this area, these aren't buildings that are what you would kind of maybe historically think of or as categorized or as kind of low income housing these urban centers. These are very nice buildings that have market rate tenants along with workforce housing units mixed in, and if they're in the urban centers, then you can use various transportations, public transportation. That I think we discuss more in the next group, but that's the bond is a necessary step. It's obviously you need to combine it with other public funding sources, but it's key to being able to keep the economy growing, keep companies to move down here, be able to have the companies, and also have the services when you come down here to know that you're going to be able to have restaurant staff and the hospitals in various nations, that you'll be able to take advantage of what we have to offer here.
I think we have to be honest in looking at, when we say affordable housing, we tend to think of what are the developers doing, but right now, if you gave someone a piece of land and they had to build something new, between the cost of construction and labor and materials, you couldn't build affordable housing in any way with anything new. So I think we have to get more creative in looking at that aspect, and I do think transportation plays into that, because we have to look at the urban core and not necessarily the new development, but the existing neighborhoods and how we restructure those neighborhoods to enlighten those communities. Transportation and access is a big part of that. Safety and security is a big part of that. And I have one point of reference on the transportation being such a big deal. We've been doing nothing but real estate marketing for 40 years. So 2010, that was a really tough place to be, doing real estate marketing in the last downturn. So we found ourselves in Poland. We met a Polish developer here in Palm Beach County who had 20 projects in Poland. And he wanted to teach his marketing staff how to do American marketing in Poland because his team was unfamiliar with the concept. When we went to Poland, it was amazing that they didn't have American amenities. What they had is public transportation. And the value of what those projects were and how valuable in what the market held was how quickly they could get on the train to get into town, because Europe's been dealing with fuel costs for so many years. So I think it's a growing thing that we really need to pay attention to, is how that transportation is going to become a bigger player. If Brightline's going to connect to Orlando, it's going to open us to another new segment that may be coming south from the Orlando market. But we really have to look at transportation as the key, because with construction costs the way they are, you're just not going to build affordable housing in a new segment and be able to say, here, this gives it to us. We're going to have to get it from a different, more creative approach.
Sure, thank you. And I know we only have 5 minutes left, but I'm going to ask another question, and maybe Clinton can kick it off. But that's an interesting point in terms of the comparison. And in the United States, the less money you make, the more of your income you spend on transportation. And in Europe, the less money you make, the less you spend on transportation. So because they create a system that's equitable and efficient for everybody, and then those that want to fly cars or do other really special things have to pay more for that. But for everyone, you're not really getting hit on that end. Clinton, I guess this question that I want to ask is, while we're experiencing all this growth and change and kind of looking long-term to continue to have economic development while maintaining the quality of life here, we are part of Miami urbanized area. We're part of that same urbanized area, Broward and Miami. Both of those counties are moving forward with enhanced transit systems that are actually provide a car optional future, a future that you have an equal or better experience if you ride transit versus driving alone in your car. What are your thoughts of what we need to do here in this county to move that conversation forward, what everyone in this room can really do to help that conversation, and kind of tying in that affordability and that density conversation closer to the urban core?
Yeah, thank you, Valerie. I'm fortunate to have lived a few different places, and particularly in this region, I've lived in every county in South Florida and worked. And so I have a really good perspective on this area and the politics, the landscape, the layout, the transportation, and so, yeah. Look, it is challenging in Palm Beach County just by sheer geography. I mean, we are the largest county, if you've heard this, east of the Mississippi, right? And for transportation, that's a huge challenge, because everybody wants their little piece of transportation or transit. And when you are large, that is very expensive. Broward County is definitely more concentrated, as is Miami-Dade. But they have been doing some things to ensure that they have viable transportation options into the future. It takes money, right? Here, when I moved to Palm Beach County, which actually this is the best place I've ever lived. And so when I moved here, I heard everybody talking about traffic congestion. It's like, oh my God, the traffic congestion. Really? You know what I mean? And so, and I think a lot of folks kind of carry my perspective here is that definitely folks from New York and other places like no congestion. It's because we have not reached that pain point. The urgency is not there, right? And I would encourage doing things proactively before that pain gets there. That's what we need to begin to do. I was in Miami when the pain was at its highest, and the public just said, no, we cannot take it anymore. We're going to engage in direct democracy. We're going to tax ourselves because we have to do something. And in 2002, I'm proud to be a part of that campaign. We passed a dedicated source of funding for transportation for Miami-Dade County to expand the transit system, expand the rail lines, improve the bus service. More than $200–300 million it generates annually. It's in perpetuity, and it is a game changer for the community. And all of the development, the transit-oriented development that has occurred around that transportation is just astounding. Broward in 2018, followed suit, and they passed a dedicated source of funding for transportation. They are planning light rail in the downtown, expanding the bus rapid transit lines. So they're taking the right steps. So we, the North, where do we go from here? And so we need to begin to position ourselves to start having that conversation on how, because people are finding this is a beautiful place to live, and they're not leaving, they're going to just continue to come. And so we just can't sit back and let that happen and not have viable transportation options and mobility for people who are coming here and the people who are already here. So I think we need to start that conversation about investing in transportation. And when you invest in transportation, all of the values of improving the environment, but from the business aspect, we are taking cars off of the road so that commerce could flow. The vehicles that need to be on the road during off-peak hours, like Amazon, FedEx, realtors showing homes, we want you to be on the road. You need those roads. But the folks who have the 9 to 5s and have the peak time commutes, we should be on a transit system that's frequent, reliable, courteous, and that's the transit system that we're trying to build in Palm Beach County. But we need money. So investment transit.
Thank you, Clinton, and it's such a great topic. I know we're out of time. I will mention that both PalmTran and SFRT, Tri-Rail, and the Palm Beach TPA, and as a region, we have long-range transportation plans. We do have a transit vision and network that we've identified. We call it the 561 plan in the urban core enhanced transit desires corridors. That network of corridors does capture 94% of the population in the future in this county, and 68% of the population, 94% of all the non-farm jobs. So we have identified a vision that as a region and as an agency, we are about to kick off the update to that long-range transportation plan looking out to 2050. This is where we prioritize our state and federal transportation dollars, and we need all the public and private participation in that process as possible. It's going to be a 2-year effort, so we look forward to continuing this conversation and having all of your participation in that process. So thank you so much.
Another round of applause. And finally, this brings us to our last panel of the day. But before we go into it, I would like to remind you all that we are live streaming on YouTube, and that video will be available right after this conference. Also at the end of the event, we will distribute for the very first time the printed copies of our report, Invest Palm Beach, which you can also access for free today by signing up on our website. With that in mind, I would like to welcome the panel presenter for our next panel, Mr. Mark List, Senior Managing Director of CBIZ. Mark, if you please join me up here.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. As was just stated, my name is Mark List, and I have the honor of being Senior Managing Director of the local CBIZ NHM office. For those of you who don't know us, CBIZ is the 10th largest accounting firm in the country. Additionally, we're one of the largest providers of insurance and employee benefits. We cater to the middle market and have the unique perspective of being able to assist our clients with a large variety of professional services at a local level. Based out of our Boca Raton office, we have been assisting the local community for 40 years. I am proud to say that our office has some of the lowest employee turnover, not only in CBIZ, but in the entire accounting industry. It is a testament to our great people and our great clients. I've been asked to give a few thoughts today on the topic of pursuing strategic growth and market turnarounds, and what opportunity looks like in a changing work environment. In the last couple of years, we have witnessed unprecedented growth in our local economy. To achieve this growth, we have had to adjust to changing market conditions, including supply shortages, record low unemployment, a changing demographic in the workforce, increased reliance on technology, and of course, the hybrid workplace. As we enter 2023, the stock market is extremely volatile. Many public companies are issuing warnings about their future earnings. As business owners and advisors to business owners, our job is to react to the changing conditions to not only improve our current business, but to set the stage for future growth. In every marketplace, there are opportunities. To quote Jimmy Buffett, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Our job is to seek out those opportunities and adapt to the changing market conditions to solve or increase profitability. Sometimes, all that is necessary is to change your perspective. Recently, I was having a conversation with some accountants who told me how much they enjoy working remotely. They continue to tell me how much more productive they are since they don't have to come to the office. And I lamented the fact that since working remotely, they're constantly feeling burnt out. I stated that I thought it was strange that they were working so many more hours when the evidence proved and the statistics showed they're actually working fewer hours. Nevertheless, I responded by asking, are you working from home or living at your workplace? They looked at me with a puzzled face, but eventually understood they were significantly more tired because there wasn't a time when they weren't at work. How you define the issue will sometimes dictate how to solve the problem. Along with many other companies, we use the changing marketplace as an opportunity to change our internal processes to create greater efficiencies. Not only did we become more profitable, but we leveraged proven technology to help us work smarter, which had the added benefit of engaging our younger workforce. This in turn assisted us in competing for talent in a workforce in which finding the right employee is extremely difficult. I'm excited to introduce to you today a panel to discuss capital costs, pursuing strategic growth amid market downturns, and what opportunity looks like in a changing environment. And the moderator, Troy McClellan, President and CEO of the Greater Boca Raton Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Let's see, I think I'm sitting up here, aren't I? All right. Well, I'm excited to be here to moderate the final panel. I don't need to repeat that long title that Mark just mentioned, but as I call the panelists up, your titles are on the stage. Andrew Duffel, come on up, President and CEO of the Research Park in Boca Raton at Florida Atlantic University. Give them all a round of applause when they come up. Rafael Clemente, the Executive Director, West Palm Beach Downtown Development Authority. Phil Board, the Managing Partner, Ward Damon. And then finally, it's Ian Goldberger, the CPA Principal, Transaction Advisory, Business Consulting Services, Kaufman Russell. All right. We're supposed to have music for you when you came up, Ian, but. So this is an esteemed panel of experts and economists in their own rights, I believe. So we're gonna just jump right in and dig deep into some critical issues and have them share their thoughts and insights. The first question I'm gonna read, and then any one of you can jump in. We've got a handful of questions. We won't get through them all, but let me just start it off, and whoever feels compelled to jump in. So while there are a number of factors that economists, business owners, and policymakers keep track of when considering the health of the economy and where it may be heading next, which of those factors are you tracking, and how is it influencing the decisions you and your organizations are making towards the future, whether that be for internal stakeholders or external clients and customers? Long question. Ian, you got it?
Yeah, I got the microphone.
You got the mic.
We see a slowdown coming, to the extent we don't obviously know just yet, but for certain industries that rely on significant capital investments, industries that rely on the supply chain, potential labor issues that are coming, we do see a slowdown coming. So to kind of step back, I help lead up our transaction advisory on mergers and acquisitions, and we thought a slowdown was going to come when COVID hit. Honestly, we had never been busier across all industries. We've worked on over 100 deals in the last couple of years alone. It's been tremendous. Kind of going forward, some of the factors that we're focused on more recently, interest rates, right? Interest rates keep going up, makes the debt on borrowing for a transaction more expensive. And so what would that mean? A lot of our potential buyers, a lot of buyers that we work with might take a step back, slow down a little bit. They might pass those higher costs onto the sellers via lower purchase price. It might make it less appealing for a seller to sell their business. And so interest rates are something we're very focused on. Another area in a transaction is we're looking at earnings. How much earnings does a company have? And that's ultimately how we value. And so with earnings, when inflation hits, certain product costs get higher, shipping and freight get higher, and labor shortages, as I had mentioned, they cause labor to be more expensive in general. And so these costs make it difficult for a company to assess what the true earnings might be, because the earnings today won't match what the earnings are in a year. And so just kind of in summary, interest rates, inflation, and kind of the labor markets that we're focused on at the moment.
Anyone else? Phil?
Well, I'd have to concur. We didn't know what was going to happen with COVID, and it was our best year at the time, and then we exceeded that by 20% the next year. And we're now tracking things. I think interestingly, you talk about economics. I was an economics major, so maybe a little unusual for a lawyer, and then attended the Law and Economics Center down at the University of Miami Law School. So we do focus, like any other business, we budget, we track revenues, we track our manufacturing, which is our billable hours. We track our sales, which is origination. And, it is moderating in some areas. Certainly in real estate, we're looking at that. We're also fortunate that some of our clients have in-house economists, so we're following what they're saying. It's an interesting, intriguing situation we're in right now, and I don't think that it's calling for us to take any swift action or take any shift in direction right now, because you just don't see it out there. But it's one of those things like any other business in the community. We're monitoring it. We're going to be careful moving forward and try to make decisions as wisely as we can.
Well, as a head of a special district that serves an urban place, we are always looking at what's driving investment and what's driving people into cities, into urban districts. Right now, in the top 10 largest cities in America, their office tenancies is only about half of what it was prior to COVID. So what are the factors, that are going to make people want to come back downtown if it's not work and it's quality of place? Dr. Maurer with Oxbridge, I don't know if he's still in the room, he kind of hit the nail on the head early on in that first panel about, is a place safe, is it welcoming, is it charming, is it inviting, and is that going to be enough to bring people back? Remote work is probably going to be about 20%, remain about 20% of all work days, at least that's what experts say. I'm certainly not an expert in that, but that's what the experts say. So can we make our place inviting and welcoming for people who won't just want to live here, but will they come and work here? So a lot of that happens in third places. If you've heard about a third place, it's a cafe, a restaurant, a park, pub, and we're seeing a lot of that. So about 40% of all remote work happens outside the home. Previous panel, that was just talked about, are you living in your workplace? So people are finding out that doesn't work out that well, so they're going outside of that place. Many of them came to Palm Beach County. COVID revealed a lot of things for us, and we've been very fortunate that we had sort of set the table, maybe even unknowingly, to stage ourselves well to capture so much incredible opportunity as we've seen over the past 2 years.
Good point, Andrew.
Well, first, I'm not really comfortable being called an economist in the presence of the former CFO of the state of Florida. Having said that, I agree with a lot of what Raphael said. Since the beginning of the middle of the pandemic, I've really been focused on and watching what's happening with commercial real estate as people have been working from home. I'm watching decisions that companies are making, who's coming back to the office, who's not. That will drive a lot of economic activity, obviously, and as someone like Raphael who monitors and oversees 300,000 square feet of research and office space in Boca Raton, it's kind of important. If I take a longer term view of what's going on, I really look at high schoolers and university students. How are they graduating? What kinds of degrees are they taking? What are kids doing if they're not going to university? These are going to define what the workplace and what the economy looks like in 10 to 15 years. So while it's not going to impact us next year, if we're going to plan and look at what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be buying and selling, we need to look at what these kids are studying and what they're doing once they graduate high school.
Well, there's been more than a few headlines out there using the word recession. And while nobody wants that, it was alluded to, I think, by you, Ian, how should we contextualize it when considering the rapid post-pandemic recovery and the red-hot growth that Palm Beach County and the rest of the state saw over the last 2 years?
I guess since I have the microphone, I'll go first. I think it was mentioned earlier this morning, we've found ourselves and we've created a paradise. So those of us that live and work here perhaps are a little bit in a bubble than the rest of the country. A lot of people are moving here, whether it's from other places in Florida or from around the country to escape bad weather, poor political decisions, poor tax environments, regulatory environments. And we have all of those things here in Florida. So I think we're going to see a continuation of that trend. Even if it does slow down, it will still be growth. Secondly, and very importantly for what we do at Global Ventures in the research park, which is to recruit talent and intellectual property from around the world, events that happen, particularly in Latin America, are going to affect us here in Palm Beach County, probably in a positive way. Because when things happen like they did in Peru yesterday with changing government from one day to the next, you're going to see a lot of people with money flee, and they're going to bring that to Florida because they're familiar with the culture, it's close, and people speak the same language, and they know people and know how to do business here. So that inflow of capital and smart people is going to continue. I think that will help us weather any recession pretty well.
I brief answer, but I agree with Andrew, and I would say that the public sector has to keep up. Money can go where it wants to go, and if we don't evolve by adapting policies and infrastructure to meet the demand of the growth, we'll lose it. Just like the example of IBM, we're going to tax you. Okay, see you later. We're going to leave. So I think that we really need to be, from a policy and infrastructure perspective, mindful of what the needs are now trying to forecast what they will be in the near future.
I think that's accurate. In terms of the R word, we've seen major recessions over the years. I remember being in DC during the early 80s with, I think my first mortgage was 15%. Been down in Florida for quite a while. Saw the S&L recession, the 2008 recession, those were the big ones. It seems like every other recession, at least in Palm Beach County, we just stayed flat. There wasn't a huge decline, and I think that's probably what we're going to see this time. We're certainly, I think, what Treasury bill rates were 3.2%, 10-year rate, I think. That's not anywhere close to where we were in the past, and perhaps we're just moving back to more of a normal economy. So I think we have to monitor it, take a look at it, but I don't see any recession here in Palm Beach County. Things to our.
Just be quick to wrap it up, but some of the things we're advising our clients just heading into this unpredictable period is kind of build up cash reserves. Know where your cash is going to come from. If you're in a good cash position, and sometimes that means operational cash, earning it yourself, or maybe working with a bank to have a line of credit so that you're ready to go if you need. But it can help in a downturn where you might be running out of cash, and also can help you identify opportunities. If an opportunity comes up, such as maybe buying a competitor, or honestly any opportunity, you have the cash available to kind of go after that. And if you don't have the cash available, you're kind of behind the game. Just another area we're advising is on building budgets and forecasts and building conservative assumptions into that, right? So if you're expecting 10% growth or even flat, maybe what would happen if you only achieve a percentage of the revenue you had last year? Are you going to be able to continue, with your business? Plan your budgets and forecasts a lot of times will help you plan your resources effectively. Otherwise, I agree with it.
And you heard it up on this panel, Phil said no recession in Palm Beach County. We may hold you to that, Phil. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it to our county specifically. And while the state is no stranger to boom and bust cycles, it seems that South Florida can buck some national trends, and growth continues to be robust, as we've heard. So what do you consider to be Palm Beach County's key advantages to make it an attractive hub for investment and relocation?
When we talked about this a bit, just looking outside. Who doesn't want to live here? I'm biased. I grew up in South Florida. I love it here. There's a better place to live. Everyone else is freezing right now. We're having fun going outside. So we have that. You don't have state income taxes, which is huge. We have great schools and just great people in general. There's a lot of talent moving here. But more recently, you're seeing a huge influx of capital, whether that be hedge funds, private equity funds, high net worth individuals. I think I saw a statistic the other day that said assets under management for companies based here, if you add up Broward County and Miami-Dade together, it still doesn't equal the assets under management in Palm Beach County. I thought that was pretty incredible, speaking to Palm Beach County. But Kaufman Rawson's excited about the opportunity in Palm Beach. We see the growth here. We're doubling down our efforts. I think we have a ton of open positions we're looking for, and we're fully invested in this community.
I'd like to give a little credit to the leadership of Palm Beach County, perhaps the business leadership of Palm Beach County more than 30 years ago when they developed first the Economic Council, and then the Economic Council turned and created the Business Development Board. I think it's somewhat unique in Palm Beach County. There are economic development organizations in other counties, but this business and government partnership that developed has grown incredibly strong in this county, and there's been a lot of focus on how we diversify the economy, how we develop the economy, and that growth with both support from the public and the private sectors towards expanding the economy and providing opportunities by providing a business climate that allowed for growth and allowed for companies to come to this county and develop, I think has been tremendous. And I give a lot of credit to Kelly Smallridge, who has done a tremendous job beginning with the Behind the Gates initiative. And COVID just fed into that. When people realized that they could move and live and work anywhere, it just created, I think, a little bit of an avalanche of people deciding why not come to Palm Beach County. So I think that's one of the things. The other thing I would just like to mention, there was a discussion earlier about healthcare in Palm Beach County and whether we had sufficient healthcare. And I think another unique thing about Palm Beach County is the healthcare district. The healthcare district of Palm Beach County is a tax-supported entity which really supports clinics and opportunities for healthcare for people who otherwise might not have it. And I think those two things really do help drive opportunity and success for Palm Beach County.
I think just very quickly, speaking sort of hyper-locally, proximity to already a tremendous amount of wealth. I mean, looking out the window at the island of Palm Beach and a few billion-dollar yachts over there. It's already here. The Behind the Gates program really capitalized on that. And I guess the concept of momentum plays in our favor tremendously. And ideally, hopefully, at least my colleagues up here feel like it's going to continue.
I agree with everything that's been said, and those are incredibly important attributes. And I make this comment objectively, despite where I work and where I went to school. Florida Atlantic University is a huge attribute for Palm Beach County and for all of South Florida. It's located in Boca Raton as a main campus, but it's a Palm Beach County school serving many of you in this room as graduates or your children have gone there. In recent years, particularly under the leadership of President Kelly, the school has been transformed. Dean Gropper has led the College of Business now to be the number 27 school in the country for entrepreneurial programs, for example, ranked by the Princeton Review and Entrepreneur Magazine. Dean Politzis is a newcomer and is leading a transformation of the College of Medicine that will attract huge amounts of research dollars, more smart people, educate smart people that will stay here. So to have that kind of an education institution that is truly rooted in the community is not something that you see everywhere. And I heard this morning from one of my colleagues at my table here, which was very welcome. He has not seen a university as deeply embedded in the community other places in the country as Florida Atlantic is. So that's something that shouldn't be taken for granted and is a huge attribute.
Thank you. Now I'm going to ask these questions specifically, one question specifically for each of you. And Andrew, you have the mic, so we're going to start with you. When dealing with economic downturns, funding is quick to be cut for projects and research that may not be immediately commercially viable. What strategies or considerations do you think are key in safeguarding funding for long-term products or research? And what do you think funders should keep in mind when they're assessing where their money is going in the wake of economic uncertainty?
If we look at healthcare first, a few years ago, I forget, maybe 5 or 6 years, there was a big Ebola outbreak in Africa. And people were worrying about why is there no cure? Why haven't we figured this out? And slowly people realized you need to invest in research to have a cure when the disease hits. We have that lesson with us today because of the COVID-19 pandemic. If you don't invest in research, people die. Simple as that. So we have that lesson. We should learn it from the experience we've all been through the last few years. And we realize without that quiet work that's not grabbing headlines, it's not talked about every day, but without that investment in people, processes, equipment, and giving people, smart people, the time and space to discover and make mistakes and come up with something that will change the world, is hugely important. And you can translate that to other areas of business. If you don't invest in your people, in your equipment, you won't be as competitive next year, and the company next to you probably will be. So while it's tempting to cut those kinds of programs in a downturn, they could end up being the most valuable investments you make, so that you can maybe cut back in other areas and remain core to your mission and come out with new strategies, new technologies, new products that will propel you to future growth when things turn around. So it's difficult, but I think that the investments have to be made, and we're fortunate, I suppose, that we have a very recent lesson to look back on and point to. Secondly, and very related, is people. If you don't invest not just financially in your people, but making them know that their input and their time and their sacrifice is valued, they'll leave. they'll go somewhere, and we see that now, we've discussed it all morning. Smart people will go where they can enjoy life and be treated well. So that kind of an investment that doesn't necessarily cost dollars is hugely important to mitigate the effects of things that do cost money that you need to cut.
Thank you, Andrew. Raphael, for you, downtown West Palm Beach has seen a number of new residents and businesses call the area home. Considering that growth, how would you characterize downtown's resiliency in the wake of a potential downturn, not according to Phil? And what are potential contingencies or strategies considered to ensure a healthy downtown, both for the residents and businesses?
Well, for what's happening now, we, as I said earlier, we need to keep up. We need to keep focused on those characteristics and attributes that have brought people here. Charm, welcoming spaces, accessibility. Transportation is a massive challenge and opportunity. We've really worked hard on mobility within the district, and we need to look at getting people in and out of the district, the downtown core, better. In the wake of the downturn, West Palm Beach has benefited tremendously from good city planning. There have been some turns and twists here and there, but overall, our urban center and the surrounding neighborhoods are doing well because they were planned that way. And I would say that in the event of a downturn, we need to double down on the investments, and not just infrastructure that we think of as hard infrastructure, but in social infrastructure. The things that are bringing people into city centers and have been and continue to be at an increasing rate now, the jobs have in many cases left them, are social factors, public places where people can connect, not just socially, but business-wise. Urban places drive economies. We are the center of the region, and we need to just be sure that we maintain all of those pieces that make us work as the economic and cultural center of our place.
Thank you. So Phil's going to debunk this, but news of potential economic downturns and headwinds can make businesses hesitant to pursue deals and further expansion, leading to a self-fulfilling prophecy where deal-making slows and further worsens economic prospects. As someone who often finds themselves in the middle of these complex deals and transactions, how do you manage client skittishness and help avoid situations where good deals fall through the cracks for bad reasons?
I guess I would start by saying we're not seeing any slowdown in the deal making. But I think the other point is that sellers always want to sell when they're at the height of their business cycle. Buyers always want to buy when they're at the lowest level. They're always sellers and they're always buyers. And so what we do is if we're working with a seller, we're going to try to work the deal and make sure the deal makes the most sense for them and get it to a closing. Same thing for a buyer. We have probably 4 deals that they're trying to close before the end of the year. I think the other thing about the type of deal making and the mergers and acquisitions that we're working on these days is it's not funded by banks. It's either private equity or internal funding. So that's not going to be dependent on it that much on interest rates.
Thanks, Phil. All right, Ian, for you. Similarly, as Kaufman Rawson's principal for transaction advisory services and business consulting, you're often working hand in glove alongside clients to ensure the best deals possible. That being said, what are those key factors or aspects within the deals themselves that you think clients should be paying the most attention to, and how do you navigate market volatility to ensure clients receive the biggest bang for their buck upon completion of a deal?
So I also agree, we're not seeing any deals slowing down just yet, which is excellent for what I do. But so at Kaufman Rawson, what we're doing is we are performing financial, operational, and tax due diligence. So that's an analogy I can put that to for anyone that doesn't understand is you go to buy a house, you have an inspection done. Someone comes that is a professional, they look at the roof, they look at the walls, they look at the air conditioning, and they try to find what potentially could be wrong or what the risks are. That's what we're doing on a financial statement basis. We're going in there, we're looking in bank statements, making sure that the cash that comes into the business makes sense based on the revenues. We're looking at net working capital trends, making sure they're collecting AR that they on a timely basis. Inventory's not been sitting there forever. They're paying their vendors. We're trying to understand normalized earnings, because like I said before, that's what a deal is based on. So more recently, a lot of the factors we're focused on, looking at financial analytics and trends that have happened in the last few years. So it's always been a procedure of ours, but it's very interesting nowadays because when COVID hit, nothing was normal. You can't look at a financial statement that happened during COVID and say this is what's going to happen going forward. Some companies that didn't think were going to do well exploded and did amazing, and other companies that thought they were ready, ended up performing pretty poorly. And so between that and like I mentioned, the interest rates, inflation coming, looking at the past couple of years and trying to understand what's going to happen going forward. That's something that we're working with our clients like hand in hand to try to better understand, because you're not really basing your decision on what happened the last few years, you're really basing it on what's going to happen the next few years. And so one last comment is at Kaufman Rawson, we kind of come from, we look at it from a holistic standpoint. So our consulting team's made up of CPAs, CFAs, MBAs, engineers, different financial advisors, and we look at it from different, different alternatives with the goal of not just providing an accounting report, providing a report that someone could use as like an integration roadmap after a deal closes. What are the challenges of this business and industry? What are the opportunities? And I think a lot of our clients are really appreciative of that because it gives them a game plan, like I mentioned, so it helps them day one when they close.
All right, so our closing keynote, Mayor James is in the house, so we're gonna have this the very final question, maybe kind of rapid fire. I'll start with you, Ian, and pass the mic down. As growth continues across South Florida, particularly here in Palm Beach County, how do you see the area becoming an increasingly strategic area for business, both big and small, to establish themselves in, and how does the county itself act as an opportunity for that strategic growth?
So you mentioned all the reasons why people want to be here, but I think it's all the same. A lot of the industries are exploding here. There's money coming into the region. It's not just any type of money. It's very sophisticated, larger organizations that are investing in the community. At Kaufman Rawson, we're embedded here. We love it here. We're looking for every opportunity to be here more. But I think all that capital that's coming to the region is going to help the community explode. And I think the last panel was talking a bit about infrastructure. That's going to be huge for. I think the county's going to be ready when that does happen, and I think we're already seeing it. So we're excited, and we're expecting it to continue.
I think again, the public-private partnership that we have with the Business Development Board, Economic Council, City of West Palm Beach County, and various other EDOs in the southern counties, just provide that extra opportunity for companies coming down here to see the area, find out about the schools, find out about the healthcare, understand the opportunities here, and I think that's just going to continue.
When I've spoken with site selection consultants for companies that are seeking to locate or relocate here, two of the top questions they ask is where are our employees going to live? How are they going to get to work? As a region, i.e. county, and the 30-something municipalities here, we need to come together around the table and have a real honest discussion about those changes. Previous panelists mentioned how change is hard, and density and transportation are top of the list for us. 5 units per acre is great in some places, single-use zoning, 5 units per acre, but we really need to think quickly about increased density in the right place, context sensitive, and the transportation systems that will serve it. 14 units per acre is about the minimum for transit to work. It's also a big density bonus for municipal governments, and that's a bigger tax revenue. And then maybe we get Mr. Clinton Forbes the money he needs to improve and expand Palm, which is providing the best service it can, but it needs double or triple the funding. And we need to really think about mixed use along those major corridors. But until we do that collectively as a county and a bunch of municipalities, we're going to have some missing tools in our toolbox.
To complement what Raphael said, once we can achieve some of those things and understand and really implement better housing and transportation policies, we look around the country and we see what areas, what metros have been really successful. Smart people like to be around smart people. So I think that as FAU continues to grow, you'll see more and more smart people creating companies, moving companies to be as close as possible to FAU at its various campuses, from Fort Pierce to West Palm Beach and Jupiter, as well as Boca Raton. And remember, I have 300,000 square feet of any space that anyone needs to rent. We'll be happy to speak to you. Secondly, we're part of the Miami Metro, but we're not Miami. So I think that the people who enjoy being close to Miami but don't want the congestion and the problems that are going on in major, big urban areas can enjoy a great quality of life here in Palm Beach County because of all the things we've discussed this morning. So that in itself will be another driver of our success.
I just want to echo one thing as we close here. Phil talks about, the business community, how they come together through all the key stakeholders, through our municipalities and our county and our universities. When we do, we all work together very well anyway, but, when we face downturn and some headwinds, we have the ability maybe to get through it a little bit quicker because we understand it working through the business development board and the larger entities in our county. So I think that makes us a bit unique, and we've got a lot of successful outcomes in that regard. So can you please help me give a big round of applause to Andrew, Raphael, Phil, and Ian for serving on the panel today. And we're going to stay up here, guys. We're going to hold the magazine and we'll get a picture. Thanks.
And one more round of applause. And finally, it is my honor to introduce our closing keynote speaker, City of West Palm Beach Mayor Keith James. If you can please join me up here on stage.
Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm in a very precarious position because as I understand it, as I looked at the program, I am between you and lunch, all right? So I will try to be brief, but I do want to share some thoughts with you. I do want to harken back to that last panel. I heard a piece of their presentation and about all the wonderful things that are happening. However, I think it's important to emphasize, and it's going to sound self-serving, to some degree it is, but I don't think it totally is, the value of good, strong political leadership in a community. If you don't have the right leadership at the top, whether it's the county, whether it's the city of West Palm Beach, the wonderful things that have been happening here in our city are in jeopardy. And so that is something to keep in mind, and I think the business community does do that. I hope they do that when they are looking at cities in which to invest, is the stability of the political leadership and their willingness to welcome those investments. So that's my little plug, something for you all to think about. As I look around the room, I am heartened to see so many prominent business leaders who have made or are making major investments in West Palm Beach. The panels and discussions that you've had focusing on healthcare, education, real estate, and construction are reflections of your powerful commitment to the growth and vitality of Palm Beach County and West Palm Beach, and I certainly thank you. I want to recognize again and thank Capital Analytics Associates and his regional editor, Max Crampton Thomas. Max, where are you? Give him a round of applause. Thank you, sir. Max was the point person for organizing today's event. As you all know, Capital Analytics provides must-read, top-level analysis for investors. I'm certainly proud of the fact that Capital Analytics has touted West Palm Beach as a great place in which to invest and do business. As mayor of this great city, I've encouraged my staff to develop initiatives and programs that will enable our city to continue to attract growth and investment. These programs are part of our economic development DNA, if you will. My Chief of Staff and Economic Development Director, Rebecca De La Rosa, stand up, Rebecca. She serves as a point person for our initiatives. And I'd like to give an example of one initiative that has proven quite successful as we've talked to and attempted to attract businesses to our area. That's our Building Improvement Grant program. This program encourages property owners and landlords, new businesses relocating here, or existing businesses to expand their space with significant or permanent modifications. And as they spend the money, we reimburse them based upon a formula for the amounts that they've expended. And certainly those improvements to those buildings increase the property value of the business, create jobs, and has proven to be one of our most successful and cost-effective community revitalization programs. Initiatives such as that have contributed to unprecedented wealth migration to West Palm Beach. Let me give you a few statistics. In the last year alone, the city was the beneficiary of 13 corporate relocations, which brought in 1,603 new high-paying jobs. Most of these were in the fintech sector, the financial services industry, enhancing our reputation as Wall Street South. In the last year, the city received nearly $4 million in business tax receipts, which was a record high. These revenues enable the city to make investments in public safety, sustainability, and infrastructure projects, for example, which benefit families, businesses, and clients. We have 6 Class A office projects in the pipeline, as compared to the period between 2008 and 2019, when we had 0 Class A office projects underway. So that's a testament to our continuous success and growth initiatives. We are slowly but surely, and this is kind of flying underneath the radar, becoming an education hub. I'm sure that you are aware of, if you aren't, you should be, our relationship with Florida Atlantic University. We are involved in a major smart city initiative, a huge grant that FAU received in NYU, and we're very happy with that relationship. I'm sure you've also heard about the UF at West Palm Beach initiative, which will be bringing graduate and professional executive programs, and that will be located right in our urban core. Those programs will support the growth and expansion of companies here through innovative programs in financial technology, artificial intelligence, data analytics, cybersecurity, and other areas. And we also have a collaborative relationship with Florida Atlantic University, at FAMU, I already said Florida Atlantic, FAMU, and we will be FAMU's most significant location south of Tallahassee. We're working with them on establishing a series of community gardens throughout our city in various neighborhoods that are considered food deserts. So these initiatives are showing benefit. And while I work every day to keep West Palm Beach and make West Palm Beach a community of opportunity for all, we partner with the business community, knowing that your business growth and investment in West Palm Beach expands those opportunities. And while we as a city retain a focus on the quality of life concerning public safety, the quality of city services that we provide, the environment and sustainability, I strongly believe that we will never outgrow our growth. We are honored to have you as partners in the growth and initiatives that keep West Palm Beach a better place to live, work, and do business. Thank you all again, and good afternoon. And I told you I'd be short and sweet. Enjoy your lunch. Thank you.
Well, there's very little I can say that can top that, so thank you so much, Mayor James. And as Mayor James mentioned earlier, we're standing between your lunch, so I want to make this short and sweet as well. I wanted to thank you all, not just for being here today, but for the wealth of information that you've all contributed to this edition, for making it what it is, and for representing the business community in Palm Beach. Just wanted to take a very quick moment to thank all of our sponsors. I'd like to start with the Ben Hotel, who welcomed us to this beautiful venue and made it all possible. And all of our gold sponsors, the Charles Schmidt FAU Foundation, Florida Blue, Kaufman Rosen, Research Park at FAU in particular. All of our silver sponsors, Broward, Palm Beaches, and St. Lucie Realtors, CPIZ, Cotton & Company, the College of Business at FAU, the Greater Boca Raton Chamber of Commerce, and in particular, thank you, Troy, for being here. I'd also like to thank Jones Foster, the Oxbridge Academy, and Paul Tran. We also really appreciate the support of our prawn sponsors, Lake Worth CRA, Meet the Communities, SBDC at FAU, as well as the Business Development Board of Palm Beach, Charter Schools USA, City of West Palm Beach, Poshas in Motion, and Ward Damon. Thank you so much for being here, and it was a pleasure meeting you.
Oh, you got this. You have to do like this.